What up, players? Welcome to episode 187 of Player Life. Today, we have a special guest on the show, and we're going to talk about living in Asia, living in Japan, and what that's like. What's up, DJ Suave? What is good?
How's it going, Mac? How's it going,
Yeah,
everybody?
good,
It's
good,
fun.
man. So,
This chat.
obviously people in this chat don't know where you're from or anything about you. So, uh, just, give a bit of a self introduction, where you're from, what you do, things like that.
Yeah. I'm from the States. I'm from Maine, which is a pretty rural state, if you don't know. It's in the very top northeast of New England. And I grew up in a small, really, really small town in Maine. So kind of double the impact on the countryside life. Went to public high school, was into sports, and I went to university in my home state. So I was pretty much in this pretty rural area for like 22 years. Um, I did travel with my family to New Zealand when I was a kid. Um, but other than that, just kind of grew up in Maine. Yeah.
All right. And you were like a professional skier.
Yeah, so I did skiing most of my life because it's good snow up in Maine, and I did it on the varsity team in college, and was able to get a sponsorship after I graduated for a pro team, and I did that for a year, um, and I was like a top 100 ranked cross country skier in the states, so that was kind of the furthest I went with it.
Cool. Um, and when was it that you decided to come? How old were you when you decided to come to Asia? Because you've been a few different countries in Asia, right?
Yeah, so when I was a professional skier, I got uh, I got a really bad injury, so I had to retire from skiing, and pretty much I had no idea what to do. I was just kind of biding my time, not making much money, not really doing anything significant. So um, one of my high school friends was over in South Korea teaching English at a just a normal little school, and she said, it's really good out here. You can get a nice stable paycheck. They'll sponsor your apartment. You can explore all around Korea and have some money to travel around Asia as well. So um, I decided, fuck it, I'm gonna head over to South Korea, and I got myself a teaching job for a year. And I was
Okay.
23 at the time.
23?
Yep.
Right. Cool. So you're just kind of. And how would you have described yourself then? Like, what kind of mindset did you have? Like, were you naive? Were you like you didn't know much about anything, or would you describe yourself as knowing what's up, or
Um, I think I was pretty naive, and outside of college, I didn't have a lot of um, experience yet in the world. That was my first like real world job, like the first 9 to 5. Um, it was my first time living in a foreign country. Well, that's not true, because I lived in Norway for a semester abroad, but this was my first time like leaving home, living by myself in a foreign country. So that was a pretty significant experience. Yeah.
all right. And did you live in Seoul or what?
I lived in the southern province, about 3 hours bus from Seoul. So I was in a small little village of like 15,000, but compared to my hometown, it seemed like a pretty happening place.
All right.
Just to give you an idea of my hometown, how nothing there is there. So
So you said 15,000
yeah,
in Korea.
yeah, that's
Wow,
where I
that's
was
small.
living. But like an hour bus away was like a huge city of 1 million people with like nightclubs and um, bars and full of action. and then Seoul was only a 3 hour bus ride because Korea is it's really small. So if you
Pretty
wanted
small.
to get to the heart of the city, you could get there pretty quick.
Okay, so you couldn't really. I guess how did you find the chicks in the city in the small town? I guess you wouldn't even call it a city, a town that you lived in Korea, because you.
Um, well, to be honest, like before I came to Asia, I didn't have any sort of much of any attraction to Asian women. Um, I just kind of came to Korea because it was something new and a way to make money, but I didn't have any like kind of appeal to Asian women. So I didn't really kind of notice them much. I was just like, okay, like everybody looks different, or people definitely dress fancier here. Like they have better fashion and care about their appearance. But no, I didn't really have an attraction to women. But I was in the countryside, so there was a couple like of my coworkers. Um, I started to notice, yeah, some of these girls are kind of attractive. Yeah. So
Yeah.
mm.
But I mean, what kind of lifestyle did you live there? Were you getting into relationships, or were you just playing around? I guess it's going to be hard to play around in such a small city. Like it's
Yeah,
not not very possible, is it? I'm
yeah.
guessing. You tell me.
I mean, there was a collection of like a few foreign teachers in this little town, and I think I hooked up with one of them. I would go into the city and like at first I was just hooking up with white chicks, which is really
All
funny.
right.
I was like, I,
That's,
I don't know, I didn't know what to think about Asian girls yet or Korean girls. So I just hooked up with like an American chick or like the first thing I came to Korea. And then it was like another white chick and um then yeah, I think it wasn't until like halfway through my time there I finally hooked up with a Korean chick. Yeah.
all right. And were you dating them or what? Just hooking up?
Pretty much all of it was like nightclub hookups.
Nightclub hookups?
Yeah. So
So,
back then I was drinking a lot. So I'd go to the club, I would drink and I'd, find some girl and hook up with her.
all right. So it's not from you weren't using were you using dating apps at the time?
I did use Tinder, let's see, like 2 or 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah.
But most of the time it was just clubs or partying,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So when did you get your first taste for for Korean chicks? Like
It was
how did you?
it was at like a bar in this kind of smaller city nearby. And yeah, I just started kind of flirting on her and we ended up going back to her place and that was my
All
first
right.
taste.
Cool.
Yeah.
So did you do like so you lived when you lived in Korea, you only lived in that small town?
Yeah.
All right. So you hadn't really tried your hand out at any day game.
No, I was terrified of day game.
All right.
So,
Yes, but like that's pretty much what what you do now. That you're pretty good at it. So um, so you stayed in Korea. How long did you stay in Korea for?
1 year.
1 year, and then what?
Then
What
I
happened then?
moved to then I went home for a bit. Then I moved to Taiwan and I got another teaching job in Taiwan. I was trying to pay off my student loan, so I just needed to make a little more cash. So I did another year contract in Taiwan, and that time I was living in a city of like 250,000, so it was a
It's a
little
big
bit bigger.
big change.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, 100,000. Uh,
Okay.
it's called Huali in Taiwan. If you ever want to go to Taiwan or live in Taiwan, I think it's the best city. Like it's very beautiful. Um, and yeah, population.
It's called
What is it called?
Kuali.
100,000.
Okay,
HUALIEN. I can write it on the chat. Yeah.
cool.
So
All
it was
right,
awesome.
I think that's in the private chat, but I'll put it in the comment section. Um, cool. So how was that was a big change, 100,000. I mean, was there much more action there, or what went on?
Um, yes. So I mean, yeah, there's definitely more people there. Still kind of like country-ish. It wasn't like the capital city Taipei where there's a lot of English-speaking locals or like for some foreign people. So most everybody didn't speak English; they just spoke Chinese. People in Taiwan speak Chinese, by the way, if you didn't know.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I just kind of thrown into a new city again, new new everything. But yeah, so that
Did,
was a new chapter.
did you try any day game in Taiwan, or was that something that you only started in Japan?
Let me think. In Taiwan, I don't think I had started yet. Then I was still kind of frozen about that. Maybe like I probably did it like a very like as many fingers as I have on my hand
Okay.
in
So
Taiwan.
not
It was
really. Yeah,
not
not
really,
at all, pretty much. So
but
you did okay. Yeah, so you stayed in Taiwan for another year. That was a year again. So it was like a year in Korea, a year in Taiwan.
little more than a year in Taiwan. I did my teaching contract, then I moved to Taipei, and I started doing just a couple of random like modeling and acting jobs there. So I was in Taipei for a few months, which was pretty
All right.
fun actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And did you say was your sex life getting better at that point, or was it like
yeah,
like
absolutely.
okay?
um,
So why was it getting better? Just because you were going out more, or you were around bigger clubs, and or what?
I think it was location. More a bigger city at the start in Hualien. I think my game was starting to get a little better. Um, you know, like I think what was starting to change at that point, I started to get better at pickups in like bars. Before it was like really noisy nightclubs, and then my bar game started to develop. Bar game is, I'd say, a step above club game because you have to know how to talk a little bit to the lady and like, kind of woo her a bit and present yourself in a way. Um, whereas in a club you're just like, whoa, and that's all you need to do really. So,
Club game is more like you need the social kind of you need the social proof, as in being around, like, first of all, you need to look like a hot dude in a club. Like, you need to look fucking hot, you need to be fashionable, you need to be a cool guy, basically.
yeah,
And then on top that, I don't even think that can be enough. It can be enough, but if you really want to kill it, then you need, on top of that, you need more. You need social proof. You need, like, to be around people, and girls need to see you with other friends and having a good time. Then you can have a good time in a club. But
yeah.
yeah, that's yeah, a
It's
lot of
loud
guys.
and noisy and people are
Yeah,
drunk, so you don't really have too much of a window to talk. Whereas in a bar, like you have a bit more opportunities. So
yeah,
I'd say that I started to learn how to kind of chat with girls in a way to kind of get them excited. So that was probably like the steps I was taking at that point. Yeah.
right. So so you had a better experience in Taiwan than you had in Korea, by the sounds of things.
Yeah, I think I was with like I don't know, like 4 times as many girls in Korea, in Taiwan than Korea. So definitely numbers were starting to pick up. When I moved to Taipei, like there was never a dry spot, you know. Like
Okay.
I lived in a share house with a couple guys, and there's always be girls coming over to my room. I had like this pink light, like neon light, and I would turn that on when I had someone over, and I would play like jazz music. So like
Um,
my roommates would always know what's going on if they see the pink light and hear the jazz music, like kind of kind of seeping out under the door.
is that some kind of code not to disturb you?
It kind of became a code, but that was just sort of my style.
All right. So that's pretty cool. You're getting, and you're like around 25, 24, 25,
25,
25.
yeah,
Yeah. All
yeah.
right. So you're having a good time in Taipei, and then what happened?
Then I moved to Bangkok.
All
So
right.
so I've been all over Asia, and I was only there for 3 months on the um, like the full tourist visa. There's like a visitor visa, and I think that's like 30 days. But the tourist visa you can get 3 months. So I had like a little apartment, pretty cool location. Actually, it was a really decent sized apartment. Um, I was just hanging out, having fun. I had money saved up from teaching. I didn't work a day in Bangkok. I just partied almost every day and just had fun for 3 months.
So it's more like a holiday. So it sounds of things. It
Yeah,
was
it was
like an
actually fun.
extended long holiday. Three
Yeah,
months is nice. I mean, Bangkok's pretty wild city. I liked it. I just visited there for like 10 days. I think I stayed in Bangkok, and pretty wild city. It's like the mixture. There's a very big I mean, the gap between the upper class and lower class is pretty. There's
yeah,
a big divide, right? There's very poor and very rich in the same city. Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, but it's pretty wild. Like you see like real poverty, and then you'll see like a Ferrari like parked up. It's kind of weird, like weird mix, isn't it? You'll see a Lambo beside like a load of trash, and like it's
Yeah,
weird, man.
I mean, you see like a beautiful shopping mall, and then you see like this kind of slum area. And it's really wild. Most people are in the low income bracket, but there's a small percent that are just super rich Thai
Yeah,
people.
it's pretty wild. I had a pretty wild experience there actually. I went to I'll tell it, I'll tell it pretty as quick, but so I'm in Bangkok. I'm like what to do. I I matched with this girl on I think it was Tinder. I was like, do you know any clubs? I was asking her, and she was like, "Oh, I'm going to be at this spot." I was like, "Okay, I'll check it out." And it was like a hip hop club, and I went there, or like she recommended it, and I was like, "So you're going to be there?" And she just blanked me, ghosted me. I went there, and I saw her, and I went up to her, and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And she just like it ghosted me. Like I was like, "Okay, whatever." But it was a good spot. I mean, there was like loads of hot chicks in there,
Yeah,
and it was popping. So who gives a fuck? Thanks for the recommendation. Go fuck yourself, kind of thing. But long story short, yeah, I was having a good time in there. Having a good time, but didn't end up didn't end up hooking up until the very last. It was like closed basically. Lights came on. Saw these two chicks. One was kind of like in her mid 20s, and then she was with this older kind of milfish girl, and basically I took the younger one home, but the older one, as we're like we're leaving the place, she said, the young girl said, "Oh, we let's just walk my friend to her car first." I was like, "Okay." And we walk her to a car, and it's like a really really nice. It's not a normal Mercedes, like a sports Mercedes. Like I don't
yeah,
know which model, but it was like a really really nice one. Like
yeah,
not one of the like just regular ones. It was like a sports one,
yeah,
and it was like pretty fucking. I was like, holy shit, this bitch is loaded. Because obviously in Bangkok, you see a car like that. Anyway, the older woman, which is like she was like a real milf. She was around in her 40s, but like really hot, like really fucking hot. And she said, "Well, I'm worried about my friends, so make sure you look after her, right? You're not going to do anything bad, right? No, no, of course not. She's like, well, I need to make sure, so take my number. And I was like, okay, I'll get your number. I got
Hmm.
her. I took her number, and I went off. I took the girl home, and we smashed, and that was it. But then like the next day, the woman hit me up and was like, "Oh, did you have fun with my friend last night?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, sure." But long story short, I ended up like hooking up with the older MILF as well. Even though she was married and all that, but pretty wild. Yeah, she took me out actually. She took me out to all the fanciest like clubs
Wow,
and stuff in Bangkok. The type of places you pull up, like, and they have valets. Like you pull up, she pulled up in the car, someone would take the keys and go and park your car, and we go in. Yeah, it was wild, man. She was loaded, loaded.
that's
But that
crazy.
was, yeah, Bangkok, sugar mommy. But do you have any wild stories from? What's your wildest story from Bangkok?
Oh man, I mean,
It seems like a city that
wasn't
can.
nothing really that sticks out, but like just a lot of craziness happening all the time, and um, you know, I remember taking a taxi to this party spot where I like to drink with my friends, and I get the taxi, and the guy kind of turns around. This Thai little guy, he's like turns around and looks at me. He's like, "Do you like drugs? Do you like drugs?" And he's talking really fast, and he's like, "Do you like ice?" I'm like, "What's ice?" I never heard of ice, but I figured it out finally. It's like crystal meth, and he started to try to sell me crystal meth, while he was driving me to the party area, and and I was like, "No, I'm good. I'm good." I'm just trying to like calm down, and then I kind of figured out that he was on crystal meth, which was why he was acting all weird. He was like putting his head out the window and screaming, and then coming back in, and yeah, that was a little scary.
Oh
And then
shit.
we got to my party area, and everything was fine. But um, you know, things like that can happen.
Yeah. There's some there's some pretty wild clubs. Did you go to many clubs there?
Yeah, I think I went to most of the clubs. I was more into the techno and house scene. That's kind of when I started getting into the techno house, like DJ kind of thing. So I was frequenting those kind of clubs mostly.
Yeah, yeah. Um yeah, so you were in Bangkok for like 3 months, and then what happened?
Well, I feel like I should talk about, since this channel is about like pickup and everything.
Hmm.
Um, that's kind of when I started to do more street approach. Uh,
Okay.
it was actually my really good friend in Taiwan from Switzerland. He was like me, just kind of traveling around everywhere, and in Taiwan, he started to do like just talking to random girls on the street. And he's like, just don't think about it too much. Just be like, just go up to him and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And he started to tell me these stories like about girls like stopping dead in their tracks and being like, "I'm so good. Like, thank you so much for asking me." And just like, he would be picking up girls on the train or just on the street around his area. So I decided to try that. Like the second day I was in Bangkok, I was just wandering around the station, and this pretty girl just jumped up, and I just went right up to her. And I'm still friends with her to this day, and we still talk. Um, I never actually scored with her, but we had some dates. She was pretty conservative, like traditional girl from the countryside.
Okay.
But So I think I would have to be very serious to kind of get in with her or something like that. But it was that was like my first pickup, like my first cold approach that turned into something. Um,
Okay. Not sexual, but
yeah, but I did have like I'd say like two or three street approaches that did turn into like a sexual experience, and yeah.
all
So
right.
that was kind of when I first started to do that.
Yeah, so once you get your first taste of it, you realize, holy shit, this is a new method. This is a
Yeah,
new way to source women that is like it almost feels like you're cheating the system. You're like, wow, this is like a lot, more efficient, or it feels like you're getting something like very very easily, or not easily, but I don't know. It just seems very like, wow, I know something that most people don't, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind
Like
of
people,
weird 'cause
they're like,
huh?
"How did you do that, man? What did you say?"
Hey,
Like,
guys
or they're
become
like,
very
I have to be drunk, man. Like, I can't do that.
yeah.
It's all,
So many guys rely on alcohol, right?
yeah,
You know, and you don't need it at all. You can totally just go up to them and talk to them, and and just it's as we've been conditioned to think that you're not allowed to do it that way, but I mean, it's the natural way to do it, right?
yeah. I mean, I think my best pickup in Bangkok was the girl I met on the street. Like, there's this kind of party area called Khao San Road. Um, so I mean that's probably the best place to start street pickup because the whole street is kind of like a party. So there's like bars on either side of the street, and then in the middle of the street, there's just tons of people. But I actually met her while she was just kind of walking down the road. I was like, "Hey, what's up with you?" And like, blah blah blah. My game was pretty weak back then. I probably came off a little like looking nervous or something, but I looked good and everything, and she was definitely attracted to me. So I was like, "Hey, do you want to come to the club with me?" And she's like, "All right." So then I got her into the club, which was kind of like that's my territory. That's where I can do well. And she didn't really like dance with me or anything yet, and she was kind of like watching me, and then like an hour in she came over to me and she's like, "I've been watching you to see what kind of guy you are, like if you're a player or whatever." And I was like, "You know what, to be honest, I just wanted to have fun with you and invite you to the club. Like, I'm not trying to fuck you or anything like that." And she's like, "Okay, cool, come with me." She grabs my hand and she walks me out of the club, and she's like, "We can go back to your place now."
It's so funny, this kind of like this reverse psychology that you use. It's like, I'm not trying to fuck you. It's like,
Once you say like your intentions are not like, you know, specifically for like dirty sex or something like that, then they're like,
mhm.
"Okay, we can go back to your place and have sex." You know?
Yeah, it's like it's one of those things where it's like, you gotta, you know, as a rule of thumb, like it's only in rare occasions that I'll sexualize the. Well, it's different in a club, but even if I'm escalating physically in a club, I'm less likely to like verbalize, like sexually verbalize. I'm not going to be saying like, oh, I want to fuck you.
Yeah.
I usually wouldn't go there just because it kind of sets up this kind of expectation that can ruin it.
Right.
Girls
No,
overthink it.
you would never say that you would want to do that, but yeah. I guess she was looking to see if I was like that was like my main agenda. Just so she was just kind of watching me. And then when I just kind of came up and said, "Hey, I'm just trying to have fun tonight. Like, don't worry about that."
Mm,
And that kind
yeah.
of clicked with her.
Yeah, they just, I guess, I don't know. It's just female nature, I guess. But yeah, so you had a good time in Bangkok. You said you got your taste for doing some cold approach. You hooked up with some girls from the street. After the 3 months, did you go back to America or what?
Yeah. So I ran out of money. Um, didn't know what I was doing in life. Um, and I went back to America, and I was like, "Shit, what the hell do I do?" So my parents were kind of like, "Well, why don't you get your act together and go back to school or something like that?" And I was like, all right, could do that." So I applied for a master's degree in Osaka. That's kind of how I ended up over in Japan. So 3 months later, I was flying out to Osaka and to start a master's program at Osaka University. Yeah.
Okay, what did you study?
I studied like international public policy, so it's like international relations, basically. Yeah.
All right. And that's when that's when your sex life, I guess, kind of exploded, because it's kind of like you. It sounds like you're kind of like, okay, you're having success, like you're getting, getting some from nightclubs, and you're doing some, you went to Bangkok, you got some street pickups, but now you're in Osaka. So what happened in Osaka?
It's kind of a long journey, I would say, in Japan. Like in Taiwan and Thailand, I had pretty good success. Um, I came over to Japan. I'll just give you some numbers just so you can kind of process. I was like 26, and I think I was like a little over like 40, like in my lake count. And at that time, I was keeping track, like you
Okay.
know, like a little nerd or whatever. And
Yeah. Yeah.
then when I came over to Japan, like honestly, the first 6 months were pretty rough. And I think you'll hear a lot of foreigners say this about their first few months in Japan. It's not easy to kind of settle in,
Mm.
especially if you don't speak Japanese, which I came in completely cold. And it's kind of hard to make it was hard to make friends and connect with the local people. And Japanese culture is really like distinct in its ways. And like Taiwanese and Thai people are a lot more open and warm compared to Japanese. So I
Insular.
don't know. Yeah, very like kind of in this little clique or
I
circle,
always
social circle.
I always have to correct Japanese people when they say, "Oh, we're so friendly. We're so friendly." I'm like, "No, you're polite. You're not
Right.
friendly. There's a big difference. Get it right. You're not you're not friendly at all. You're very, very fucking polite. Very
Polite
polite."
and helpful, but
Yeah.
when like after they're done helping you and you say, "Hey, you want to go get a coffee or dinner?" They're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
like I have something to do or whatever."
Mm,
Um,
mm.
so like just like so my social life was really difficult when I first got there. Of course, I was living on the campus or near the campus, and I had like students to kind of interact with, but um, I didn't have like really any Japanese friends or any luck with Japanese girls at the start. I think I had like a little relationship with a foreign girl. She was Korean at the start, and then some other foreigners, like different races, like black, white, Chinese, Korean, but no Japanese at all. Like
Right.
the first five girls I was with were not Japanese, which was interesting. I just completely failed miserably with Japanese girls. When I went out to the clubs or whatever it was, I was like, damn, has my game gotten worse or something? I couldn't figure it out. And like my Japanese was shit then. That's true. But yeah, and then I finally I kind of like gave up and I was like, I'll get on Tinder. So I went on Tinder and um the first girl I kind of matched up with uh became like kind of a girlfriend for a while.
All
And
right.
I ended up dating her for 8 months.
Okay.
And she was like really good looking. She was like a lingerie model, former model, just kind of hot. She was kind of like 31 at that time. She was past her peak, but still really good looking. And
Right.
I've shacked up with her for like 8 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of well, it's similar to me. I mean, yeah, it was rough. Like, I mean, I was similar, as in I couldn't it was hard to calibrate. Nightclubs were not really working very well. And I went on Tinder, hooked up with a few girls. And but the difference with me is I never committed into any relationship. I don't think I've committed in any relationship since I've been in Japan. Like, um, you know, but yeah, I mean, it takes a bit of calibration when you come to Japan. I and you know actually that's what kind of pushed me to do to do day game was the fact that it was kind of like not going so well in nightclubs, and plus the fact that I was seeing like really hot girls out and about on the street, during the daytime. Like I'd go out, I'd see really hot girls, and I was like, shit, they're so sexy, like god damn. Um, I just needed to almost just started approaching them, like, just saying what's up, hey, what's up, really awkward, really unsure of myself, but
Yeah.
eventually it just started working.
At
Um,
what age did you start trying the street approach?
I guess it was like 26. So I was late. I mean, I was later than you. I mean,
No, I mean, well, mm, I mean, living in Osaka, I still really didn't do much uh, street approach. Um,
'cause you
most of
were
it
you were in a did you stay in a monogamous relationship for 8 months?
I did.
Wow, that's pretty great. Like,
Uh,
see, your mindset was a little bit like different than to your, like, more like maybe you had the traditional mindset, like,
I mean, I think part of it was I was new to Japan. I didn't know much about the language and the culture and the people. And this was this local girl, and she kind of just taught me a lot of stuff. I learned a lot of Japanese from her, kind of about the city, and she kind of showed me the ropes, and that was really helpful. So I kind of like grabbed onto that in a way, probably. Um, and then I noticed her flaws kind of came out of the wood, and
Mm,
you know, we ended up breaking off. She left Japan to
right.
Australia, and then I was left like just like, oh shit, what do I do now? Like I was still something about me. I quit drinking 2 years, 2 months ago.
All
So
right.
like about 4 or 5 months after I broke up with that girl. Um, and that was a very pivotal point in my life. And I think that kind of ties into my approach with women as well. So about like 4 months after I broke up, that whole time I was just sort of drinking lonely in my apartment, and I had like maybe been with like 4 or 5 girls during that time, but it was pretty quiet. They were nothing more than like usually 1 or 2 night stands. Didn't go anywhere. I was just kind of like wallowing around in my misery, and I decided to go to this meditation program in Japan. I did a 10-day silent meditation, um, and I changed a lot there. Actually, from that point on, I didn't touch alcohol ever again.
All right.
So the meditation teacher told me how to stop drinking. And that was a huge change in my life because when you go to a bar or a club and you're not relying on alcohol anymore, and you can just be like, okay, I'm just me, here I am as I am. And if someone wants to talk to me, then I'm just gonna give them my unaffected social skills, like without alcohol in the mix. So that definitely changed the way I talk to women immensely. Um,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, it's definitely a different outlook on life. I mean, there's so many different benefits to not drinking. Um, it's like it makes it actually easier. It makes it easier to continue not drinking. The more you benefit from not drinking, if you get what I mean. You start to realize it's actually, you're benefiting in a big way from not getting like fucked up, like, drinking till like 5 a.m. in the morning, waking up with like just this, your body's just like in bits, like you've spent all this money,
yeah,
you've probably done all these kind of different dumbass embarrassing things you've said, there's so many different elements to, like, so
I
many
mean,
reasons not to drink, but
it's like, okay, when you like pop a beer or a shot, like you do actually get that kind of boost of confidence and that kind of rush that might make you help you go across the room and talk to this hot chick that you've been eyeing, but eventually you're gonna have to pay the price of that alcohol. It's gonna go down that boost, and then you're
Mm,
gonna need another boost and another, and eventually like you're gonna be in the sauce, like
yeah. I
you,
think it gets to a point where the price is more, right? Like so that the benefit you're actually paying more than for that little buzz, that little boost. It gets to a point where you're actually paying more, like the cost of it in terms of like your health and like the how you feel. It's a higher price. Like so you're
right.
fucked. Like it's like not
Yeah,
worth it. It just becomes a point where shit, this isn't even worth it.
yeah,
Um, it's like shit. I had like one couple of hours of fun, but now I'm suffering like 12 hours, and I've seen people like ruin their lives like from alcohol, like
yeah,
by doing one stupid thing. Like I, I've I've seen guys that have punched cops and shit for for no reason, and then
yeah,
end up getting a conviction and shit like that. You know what I mean? Getting convicted, and how they have like a criminal record and stuff like that. So there's like thousands of stories like that, millions. I mean, alcohol's the worst drug ever. But and I'm not even actually. I know we're talking bad on alcohol over here, but I mean, I don't even go around trying to stop people from drinking. Like I'm not trying. I'm just sharing my own story. You're just
I
there
mean,
and
there's people
sharing
that drink
your
that
own
still are
story.
very
It's like
successful
if
with
people,
with women, but it's
yeah,
to each his own. But I think the
yeah,
cool thing
to
about
each
me
his
and
own,
you and
basically.
most of my close friends in Japan, they also don't drink, and they're pretty successful with women too. So
Hmm.
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it can actually make you like the less you drink, it can actually make you even more successful with women.
Yeah,
And
because
that's not because I'm not saying that because it's like, oh, you're sober and you're taking advantage. Not at all. Like I mean, I'm talking about even cold approach. Like you're just more energetic as well. You're healthier. I mean, your sex drive goes up.
yeah,
Like you're just a healthier human. So you're just
yeah,
more motivated to have sex, and you see a hot girl, you're feeling great. You go up to her and you talk to her and you have sex with her. But if you've been drinking a lot, you see the same girl, you might not be motivated to talk to her because you're maybe feeling hungover, or you're not feeling like too,
yeah,
just not as healthy as you would be. Like ultimately, the healthier your body is, the hornier you are, right?
yeah.
So,
Oh, I think for me the biggest realization is like before every time I had sex or I like um got laid, I was drunk. I was drinking. I had a drink in my hand. Like the night I lost my virginity, I was almost blackout drunk.
right,
Yeah. I was 18 in like a college like dorm basement, and I was borderline blackout drunk, you know? And
right,
from that day on, most of the times I was having sex, like I was drunk. I had to be drunk. I had to be kind of altered by alcohol. And then when I finally quit drinking, that was like 8 years down the road. 8 years
right.
of just drinking, binging, getting fucked up, hangovers, clubbing, bars, whatever. Always having like a beer in my hand. Finally, when I was like thrown into the situation where I didn't have a drink in my hand, and I was just standing in like this club because I had made a decision I was going to stop drinking or at least try to stop drinking. I was like, well, holy fuck, like this feels like I'm like in high school again, like sitting at the school dance, Felt like the high school dances, at least in America, where you don't people aren't really drunk there. It's just like you're like 16 or 17 or whatever, and you're in like the basketball gym, and there's like a DJ, and everyone's sober as hell. So for like the first hour, you're like a little bit
Uh,
stiff, and then you kind of loosen up, and by the end of the night, you're having a great time, but you're not drunk, are you?
that's right. Yeah, man. I mean, there's the other thing. Have you ever gotten like whiskey dick? Like,
I
where
think
you like,
it started happening to me like towards the end of my drinking days, but
uh,
I was usually like even if I was drunk as fuck, I was like a monkey. I don't know.
all right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, the first time the first time I ever tried to have sex was like I got a whiskey dick, which wasn't a very good experience. But yeah, I was like fucked up, like totally fucked up. I actually wasn't able to have sex, so it was like a bad like fucking experience.
Bad association
Um,
with you.
yeah, yeah, funny story about that actually. I've told this story before on this channel, so it's not like I think
Okay.
most people know it. But but yeah, so I got the whiskey dick, couldn't fuck her, and I was so pissed off because I wanted to, I was on, I think I was just turned 19, and I was like so pissed off that I fucked up that opportunity. That I was like, fuck this. Like I'm like I literally I went and I basically fucked the hooker like straight up like the next week because I just couldn't wait anymore. I was like, damn, like
How
I
old were you?
fucked this up. I was like I just turned 19.
That
And
was your first time to have sex, or
I'm fuck the hooker, yeah, and it was stone cold sober, like, and it was no problem, like, but it was just like, it just, it was like, because I was like, so my mindset was so blue pill back then. I was
yeah,
so like inexperienced, and like the thought of like getting a girl was so difficult to me. Like,
yeah.
and I got a girl, and I messed it up. So I was like, shit, like it's gonna
It's
how
hard.
long is it gonna take for me to get another girl? Like,
It's
and then
traumatizing. You're like,
yeah, so like I gotta say, like I'm not like, I don't, obviously this is like player lifestyle, how to get girls without paying. But honestly, it was like a huge like weight off my shoulders when I finally fucked. I was just like I felt relieved, even though it was a hooker. I was
absolutely.
shit because I was 19. It was like been fantasizing about for like a decade. Like, I mean, I was like I was looking at women when I was young, like
Yeah, I
I was,
mean, you're watching porn, you're jerking off from like 13, and then you're
yeah,
fantasizing about the hot chick in your high school, and then
hot
if you don't
teachers,
if you
like
don't
everyone,
finally like break through that wall and get what you've been wanting to
yeah.
get, like you just feel like, oh, like
Yeah,
you have
it's
this
traumatizing. It's traumatizing. Like, and I went to an all male school too, so it was like very pent up
yeah,
kind of thing. And when I finally fucked it up, like by getting super drunk and just not, not being in the moment and kind of just being like messing it up, was like, this is too much. I'm like, I'm next week. I went on like, just, but it was like it was a weight off my shoulders. But yeah, alcohol can definitely mess with that kind of side, for guys, the sex. Even if you do go, like, it's still kind of, even if you're able to go, like, I've had sex plenty of times while I was drunk, but like it's still kind of sloppy. It's like you're usually, it's kind of,
yeah.
you're stinking of smoke because you've usually been in a nightclub or something. It's not as good. The sex isn't as good, like compared to like a day
Sober
game
sex.
pickup. Like when you pick a girl up, like she's not, you pick her up on the street, she's like, she's not stinking of smoke, she's not drunk, she doesn't have a bad taste in her mouth, and
Yeah.
it's just like real fucking like hot, like pure sex.
Mm.
It's a good time. Um, so yeah, like where were we at? Like you're in Osaka, like
Stop drinking.
you stopped drinking. Like, is that when you started doing pick day game? Like
Um,
properly, because you've already done day game up at that point,
I
but
mean, to be honest, there was like a really pivotal point where like my sex life really just like shot off. Um, so after the meditation, I've been sober like 2 or 3 months, and I was working at this little music festival. I was doing DJing gigs at the time, and one of my DJ managers was like, "Hey, you want to just not play but work at this festival just as like security?" So I'm like, "All right, cool." So I actually just I was there and I saw this dude standing there, and he looked like Bob Marley. Like, he had like natural dreadlocks and everything, and I was like, I got to talk to this guy. And yeah, sure enough, he was from Jamaica, and this guy he became one of my closest friends in Japan, still is, and 2 years later, and like he's from fresh from Jamaica. living in Osaka, doesn't know much about Japan, just been there like a month or so, but he knew a lot about women and how to pick up women. And they have a word for players in Japan in Jamaica called gallus, and it's like someone who's good with girls. And he was so good with girls. I mean, I watched him at the festival, and anyway, he taught me how to not only just be better at like talking to girls, but like how to be more confident, you know. And he showed me some books and like told me about meditation and like the law of attraction and a lot of stuff. And after 3 weeks of knowing him, from that day to 3 weeks later, there was like 5 girls I brought home and slept with, you know. So like my game was just starting to really pick up. And from that day forward, there was kind of no looking back. Like my game just accelerated. So I owe a lot of credit to just meeting the right person and meeting my friend. And he also didn't drink. He's a Rasta, you know, he's a Rastafari guy. So he's vegan, doesn't drink, you know. Um, so we were compatible in that fact. And man, my game just really just shot off
Right.
right from then.
Did you see him do any cold approaches or anything like that?
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, I mean, I remember. I mean, the first time I saw people doing like a cold approach and being successful at it, it's like you get like that intense FOMO. It's like you're amazed that they're being successful at it, and it's like holy fuck! And it's
Yeah.
like kind of a feel like yeah FOMO, but it's like jealousy. You know, it's
Yeah.
like a good form of jealousy.
Like,
As it's not like you're hate. It's not like you're hating on your friend, but it's like wow, like he's making it work. Like that's fuck. Like dude, I
well,
gotta get in on this. And you
to
know,
be honest,
how'd you
like,
do it?
yeah,
You
we
know,
would hang out in Osaka. He would come over to my place, and then we would go out. I'd have like a DJ gig or something like that. And like on the train to the club, like, he would just start chatting to this girl like on the train. And I'd be like, "Whoa, whoa, dude! Like maybe you shouldn't do that. Like maybe like you could get in trouble or like, you know, like remember like we're foreigners and stuff." And you know, especially unfairly, like him being black, he gets a lot more negative attention. And I'd be like, well, be careful, man. Like, you know, maybe you could get in trouble. They might like go to the police. And but every time, like he would have like usually a good reaction. I mean, sometimes people would just straight ignore him, but he came off in a way that was really like happy and fun and friendly, and there was no like scary or weirdness at all in his approach. And he was really smooth, and a lot of girls would just stop right on the train and stop what they're doing, stop looking at their phone, and just give him the full attention. And it just like really just
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's interesting that the guy that kind of opened you up to like doing like improving your game was Jamaican because the guy when I first came to Japan, it was a Jamaican guy. We weren't really good friends, but we kind of we were kind of close. We chatted whenever we saw, but
Yeah.
whenever we met up or whatever. But he said he was the same. He kind of opened my eyes to like game in Japan because I was telling him it was like my first month in Japan. He was like, "Bruh, like how's the chicks? Are you enjoying the chicks?" And I was like, "Man, it's like it's kind of difficult, man. I haven't been getting with many. It's hard, man. It's not as easy as people think at all, man." And
Yeah.
he's like, "Bruh," and he just started
Well,
talking to me and telling me like you know how it is and that you just need to go and like aggressively, not aggressively, but you need to like go out there and put yourself out there and you'll start hooking up. I can't remember exactly what he said, but we chatted basically and we talked about game and you know and ever since since then I started like listening to him and taking his advice. He basically told me because I was telling him the nightclubs kind of suck, and he was like, well, you gotta, I mean, there's more than just nightclubs, isn't there? There's girls on the street, there's girls on the park,
yeah.
like, there's girls on the bus, like there's girls on the
Well,
train. I was like, what do you mean there's girls on the bus? He was like,
yeah.
yeah, there's girls on the bus. Well,
Right.
that's what I'm telling you, bro. Like there's girls on the, you talk to them, like that's
Yeah.
it.
apparently, like, in Jamaica, that's very normal just to just chat a girl up in the grocery store, or, it's kind of their culture, so,
Mm,
I think, yeah, someone from Jamaica can be a very good teacher when it comes to women.
yeah,
Um,
man.
Man, like, did my game change? I would say, especially though, when I came to Tokyo, I started doing a lot more street approach. Um, like living in Shibuya, I noticed a lot of not just foreigners, but like people in Shibuya in Tokyo. They do a lot of the nampa, like the
Right.
street talk, and I was like, what is going on here? Like people
Yeah.
are doing this everywhere. Like this is kind of,
Mm.
and I saw some like weird looking foreigners doing it, like kind of awkwardly and all sorts of things. And I was like, what the hell? Like if
It,
they're doing it, then you know,
yeah, it's kind of like it got to be said. Like when you see like a guy that you're objectively better looking than, and like better in maybe every way, like fashionably
yeah,
looking, and then you see them getting with like a hot girl. You're like, That's really inspiring." Like you're like, it gives you that real like I said, that kind of jealousy, the FOMO, like the fear of missing out. It's like,
yeah,
shit, you know, this guy's getting with a real hottie, and I'm like, I'm here being a bitch, like not
yeah,
fucking doing it. So it's kind of inspiring at the same time, even though if a guy can pull it off and he doesn't look well or he doesn't look good,
yeah.
you know. Um, but yeah, so that was Osaka, and when did you move to Tokyo? We haven't talked about
Um,
Tokyo yet.
Last July, so July of
Last July.
2020. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
cool.
really funny. So I was a master's student living in like this student apartment in the middle of Osaka, and I had a lovely time there. And then once I graduated, they're like, "You got to get out of here. You're not a student anymore. You got to leave." And Corona had just set in. This was like 2020 March, and that's when like the whole Corona fear was like just starting off, kicking off. Everyone was freaking out, and I couldn't travel anywhere. I was thinking to actually leave Japan and like go to Europe or something, and I was like, hell no, that's definitely not going to happen. So um, I still had like a year on my visa, my student visa, kind of. So I moved in with my good Japanese friend's family, and I ended up living with them for 3 months, and then I came over to Tokyo just to try something new, and um, yeah, now I live in Shibuya. It's Makono's like right in the heart of the
Mm,
city,
right.
and I've been here for about a year.
Yeah, man. So yeah, people, for anyone who doesn't know, Shibuya is like the downtown, like the happening, like this is the spot where it's the famous crosswalk, where it's the busiest crosswalk in the world. I mean, in my opinion, it's has the most condensed amount of hot girls possibly in the world, because it's like a fashion. There's fashion, there's retail, there's shopping, there's bars, there's clubs. So it's just this condensed area of like incredibly hot. There's like you go there on any given day, you're gonna see like you could possibly see hundreds of hot girls, like hundreds, like in a small area, like just walking around, like
Yeah,
shopping and stuff. You go there on a Saturday, you'll see thousands of hot girls. If you stay there, if you
yeah,
post up like in Shibuya, and like at one, you just say you stand at the crosswalk and you stand there for an hour, you're gonna see 1,000 girls that are fuckable, like easily, you're gonna see
ah,
1,000 girls that are fuckable, like just walking around, more possibly,
just
like
thousands, yeah, in
yeah,
the thousands.
thousands. So I compare it to like an outdoor nightclub. Like it's kind of like with no
It's
music,
crazy.
even though
Yeah,
it's like just
and
because also
if you have that day game ability, it completely changes everything. You're like, wow,
yeah,
any number of these girls I could go talk to. Like,
right.
you're not
The only
just
downside
running
is
sundown in the clubs.
yeah. So it's an amazing spot. Like basically, the only downside is that girls are very aware that it's also a Nampa spot, and Nampa means like day game spot. It's a cold approach. It's known for guys doing cold approach. A lot of guys do it there. So that girls resistance. Girls are very. You'll see a lot of girls walking around with a real pace on them, because they'll be walking at great speed, because they know they'll have the earphones in, they'll have the mask up, they'll be walking very fast because they don't want to get approached. So that's the thing about Shibuya is like the girls are aware that it's a Nampa spot. So that's the only bad spot, but you can still do it and be very successful there. Especially you live like within walking distance of that area. You're in that area basically. So
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I've hooked up with girls I've met right at that crosswalk, and um I mean, just the other day we were out, and actually, we talked to girls around there, and there was a girl walking across the crosswalk. She was actually mixed Japanese white. She looked more white than anything. And right in the middle of the crosswalk, I stopped and said, "Hey, what's
Mm.
up? I saw you earlier. Like, where'd your friend go?" And she's like, "Oh, he went home. I'm alone now."
Oh
Very,
man, yeah.
quickly got her Instagram, and actually she's messaging me yesterday. She wants to meet up tonight. And it's just like, in a night you could talk to like 10 girls on the street, get their contact. And I mean, I think between the two of us we probably got about that many numbers on
Yeah, it's just
Saturday
like
night, just last
it's
weekend.
it's like getting them on the sales list, isn't it? It's like we're selling them. It's crazy. It's like it's yeah, you can get lost in that world. Like it's
It's
very
crazy.
addictive. It's very
I mean,
addictive.
you have to kind of balance yourself, because like when I first moved here, I started to realize like the potential. And I was doing like really shitty jobs when I came to Tokyo. I remember one night I was coming home from doing Uber Eats, and I had my big Uber box backpack on and this shitty bike, and like like flip flops or something. And I was cruising into my street, and this like really hot girl just walks down the street, and I just like hit the brakes. I was like, "Hey, excuse me, like, you speak English?" Like looking like I was kind of lost, and she's like, "I speak a little bit." I'm like, "Whoa, like, what are you up to? Like, how are you? Like, my name's Riley. I just moved to Tokyo. I can speak a little Japanese, decent-ish Japanese too, so spoke a little Japanese too." And I quickly got her contact, and she turned out to be a yoga teacher. And like a month later, we went on a date, and you know we went back to her place, and everything happened. And this was a
Right,
girl that I met on my street, like literally 30 seconds in front of my house.
right. It's interesting, like how you say, like I use that a lot to be honest. Like, do you speak English? And that's just because basically we're foreigners in Japan. But basically, it's at the end of the day, you're just saying anything really. It's just an opener, right? Like,
Yeah,
what do you think? What's your opinion about openers? My opinion is that it's just an icebreaker. It doesn't
yeah,
matter what you say, really. Like, it's
yeah. I mean, I would say my opening game has gotten better. At first, I would kind of be like, "Excuse me," like I would
yeah,
almost be a little like
apologetically.
apologetically a little nervous, like, "Excuse me," and then be like, yeah, like, this guy looks like he needs help or something. And then I would be like, "Hey, where are you from?" Or, "What's your name?" Or I'd ask just, like, a very generic introductory question like that, and then I would kinda, like, warm into the conversation. But now, like, sometimes I'll just go right up to them, or, like, I'll see Mac doing the same thing. He'll just say, "Hey, how you doing?" you know? Just very comfortable from the start.
Mm,
Just be like, "Hey, how are you doing?" Like, or
yeah.
I'll be like, the second thing I'll say is like, "You have, like, really nice style. Like, I really like your outfit."
Mm,
And when you say that, I mean, it sounds cheesy, but if you own it, like, they love it. Like, they're like,
mm,
"Oh, thank you." Like, maybe you're
right.
the first person to compliment them on their outfit that day. And, like, girls, they put a lot of effort into their appearance and their clothes and their makeup, and especially if you're an attractive guy and you come up to them just out of the blue and be like, "Hey, I really like your style, your outfit." Like, just it's just like a warm wave of happiness that just washes over them. You can just see it. You know what I mean?
Right. Women, there's a kind of a phrase like women make rules for beta guys and break rules for alpha guys. I don't like I actually you could say it like in another way. You could say women like make rules for guys that they're not attracted to, and they break rules for guys that they are attracted to. So like if you're attractive enough to them, you can like because it's not necessarily to do with whether you're beta or alpha. Because you could be an alpha guy and you could still suck with women. To be honest,
True.
like you know what I mean. It's like
That's true.
so. Like if you tick her boxes, like if you're like fashionable and she likes your style and she likes your height and your body, your physique, you can pretty much say anything to them and she like as long as you're not a super weirdo and you make her feel comfortable,
Yeah.
you could technically go up to her and say, "Damn, you have a fine ass." Like I
Yeah.
don't even recommend guys do that. Like that's not a
Guys do
smart
it.
strategy. Like it's not a good idea to like consistently use that, like do something like that. But it could work. Like it technically it could work. It's I wouldn't recommend it. I'm not saying it, but I'm just saying that as an example. Like these women will break rules for certain guys.
Yeah.
You know, it's just an example of women literally if you tick her boxes, you can say something. So but you don't need to go that hard straight off. You can just be like you can say it like yo, like you said, I use the same one. I like your style, I like
Yeah.
your fashion, wow. Or you pick something out, oh
I
wow,
like
I
your
like your high
chest.
heels, you know
Mm. Like your
um
hair, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
A friend of mine uses like funny ones. Like he goes like and says like hilarious ones, like totally irrelevant, like ridiculous things. Like he'd be in the combini, and the girl would be like picking up a bottle of water, and he'd be go, "Oh, excuse me, like which bottle of water do you recommend?" Like I'm like just like, and the girl knows it's silly. He knows it's silly, but it's just an opener, right? It's like it's and the girl will be like, "What? Like, what do you mean? What? And it creates this like kind of joke right off the start or right off the bat,
Yeah.
and the whole thing is not serious. A lot of guys take the whole thing too seriously, right?
Right. True.
Mm. Like,
Hmm.
I think that's one of the things that turns girls off the most, isn't it? Like when guys are like too serious about it,
Yeah.
and
Too like
it's like,
intense. Yeah.
yeah, girls are like, what's
Laugh.
this guy doing? Huh?
Like smile and laugh, even if you're laughing for no reason. Like if the girl sees you laughing and kind of a funny, like a big smile on your face, like they're gonna relax and they're gonna probably giggle a little bit too, and
Yeah,
everything
sometimes,
gets loosened up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I just laugh or get or not giggle, but I laugh and the
Laugh.
girl's like the girl starts laughing. Then she goes red and blushes and she's like, "Why are you
Yeah.
laughing?" And then it creates this like kind of funny moment.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she's like, "Why are you laughing?" They almost get like self conscious, but in a good way.
Sometimes I'll
Like
laugh
not
at the fact that I just stopped to talk to them because it is kind of funny. Like you just stop a
mm,
stranger on the street.
yeah.
You have a laugh about it.
Sometimes they'll start laughing right off the bat, and that's obviously a really good sign.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah. So what else you do in Tokyo? You're like you've talk about you DJ and you do modeling and all sort of stuff, and this all like really helps. Like talk about how
Yeah,
this helps your game as well. Like
yeah.
this help.
So I've been DJing for like 3 years, and I kind of got into the club scene a little bit in Tokyo. And if I meet a girl and I'll say like, yeah, I DJ at like this club and that club, and they've heard about that club, they're like, what? No way! Like it's not like I'm a big DJ, but I play there every now and then. I mean that helps huge because a lot of girls they want to go to these parties and get invited and get on the guest list or whatever. Or I'll like my Instagram, it helps a lot. Like, I mean, you can see my Instagram. I'll just put my handle. Is that okay, Mac?
Yeah, I can share it. Um,
Okay. But I mean, I've been doing modeling. I think I started in Taiwan, like around 25, and I've been doing modeling gigs in Asia for like 4 or 5 years now, and that also helps a lot. When you have like a nice model portrait, like for a handbag or clothing or something, or I've been in like a couple magazines or something like that. I mean, that helps huge. I've gotten into some slightly more bigger gigs in Japan too. Like, did a music video for a big J-pop group. You can see like the middle
this
one
one
with the green one. Uh, no, up
up or down? Up.
up at the top, the
Oh, this
top,
one.
the green one. Yeah,
Oh, this one.
yeah, yeah. I was in a.
Oh,
You can see the video like I was just like a minor kind of character, but all these guys here in this video are like super top celebrities in Japan. That's me right there, just
Oh yeah, yeah,
opening the door. And I have a couple other like FaceTime moments dancing and stuff. And but when
yep,
girls see that on my Instagram, they're like, "What? Like,
yep. Guys,
you kidding me?" Like
trust me on this one.
they'll just melt. Or like
Yeah,
I've been in some TV dramas, and like the other day, Mac and I approached some girls, and after we exchanged Instagram, we saw them later on randomly in the street, and they're like, "Wow, like I actually saw you on TV like a few months ago. Like you're that guy. Like this is where I was
yeah.
on TV on like a major Japanese TV show." And I don't
Yeah,
know.
you're 100%, man. Like, no, the Riley's like, that's like, I was like, that gave me the FOMO. Like when I saw the way the girls reacted to your Insta profile and the clout. You have that clout, like the DJ clout, the modeling clout.
Yeah,
This is like these are honestly like things that you like you have these over me. And
yeah,
no, I'm not like knocking you for it. It's like it's
right.
good. Like it helps you out. Like I mean
Oh
it's
yeah,
it's great. But yeah, blue it's amazing to see like how so we approach these two girls, like really, two hot girls, just a normal set, having a good time. They're kind of receptive. They're kind of into us anyway. Like they're having a good time. That they're excited. They're giggling. They're giving off all the good signs. But when Riley busts out his like, he lets them know he's a DJ. Then he exchanges the Instagram. They see he has a lot of followers. Their eyes fucking light up. Like you look at them and you're like, this shit will get you laid. Like it helps. Like it
definitely.
really does help. Like having clout, having that extra, like these cool qualities. Like you're ticking all the boxes, man. You're like you got the DJ clout, you got the modeling clout, you got the follower clout. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you're kind of maxing out your social credit or your,
Right.
you
And
know,
Instagram is everything to like a 20,
yeah. Oh
23-year-old
man,
girl.
like I was like that started making me. I'm a fully aware of this anyway. But when you like, I know the truth. I know that helps anyway. I knew
Yeah.
before, but when you see it like in real life, like so the girls are into us. They're being receptive. But as soon as you list off the things, their eyes get that much bigger. Like they get that much
Yeah.
brighter. They get
Yeah.
that more. They get excitable, and it's like, okay, these girls want to fuck. Like,
Oh yeah.
um, or at least yeah. So it's
And to
what
be honest, like I'll tell your audience, like I did a Instagram campaign, so I actually was off social media for like 2 years, and I got back onto it like 6 months, 7 months ago. And you see, I have like 13,000 followers or whatever. I did a actual campaign,
right.
so I paid money, and they wrote like an article and did this like celebrity giveaway thing. So that's where I got the followers.
Right.
So, I mean, it sounds kind of like dishonest, in a way, but honestly, the
But
main
it's like
reason
social
I
media is dishonest. So, yeah,
social
sorry.
social media is dishonest, but the main reason I paid for that is so I could get more modeling jobs, because
Right.
nowadays you can get a lot of modeling jobs just through the DMs and Instagram. So
Yeah.
I did pay like $2,500 for those followers, but the amount of jobs I've gotten now is almost like evened out that investment.
Yeah.
So it's
I
actually
mean,
worth it. It's actually like in the end, I think I'm gonna profit off of that investment. So
yeah. No, I mean, like, if you're in that industry, like, you have to play the game. Like, it's like this is how like these social. It's a whole industry. I mean, that's these social media platforms. They're all dishonest anyway. They don't. There's
yeah,
all algorithms and stuff, and they're set up that way so they get money from it. Like,
yeah,
that's how it works. Like, they intentionally. It's not an you don't naturally grow your channel anymore or your page anymore. It's like, and it's set up that way so it creates like they can get money out of people. So you have to play that game. Like all the DJs, all the influencers, unless like you're kind of lucky,
yeah,
it'll it'll blow up like naturally. But you almost got to get lucky for that to happen,
Right.
you know.
Right. Like,
But yeah, so you got that extra, like your sex life was already pretty good, like, and
I
then
mean, just to give your viewers like some statistics, like, so when I met my Jamaican friend, I think I had slept with around just under 50 girls, and I was like
and how
20,
old were you?
27.
27? Okay.
Yeah, 27, soon going on 28, like just shy of my 28th birthday. And I'm 29, almost 30 now, and I think I don't know, I'm well over 100 now, and like just in the last 2 years, it's accelerated like immensely, and it's because now I know I can approach women anywhere, anytime. When I'm sober, it can be in the supermarket, it can be on the street, it can be on the in a train station, and that just opens up your options like immensely. Like you don't have to be like, it's Friday night, like time to get some pussy, like in the club. Like for so many men, like that's their only outlet for getting laid is Friday night, weekend in the club,
Right.
when they're sipping on a drink. Like when you kind of give yourself all this other option, you're like, woo, it could be a Monday afternoon.
Mm. Yeah, it can literally be a Monday afternoon. It's like fantasy land kind of stuff. Guys think that these kind of pickups, like daytime pickups, only happens on Bang Bros or something, like on
Yeah,
some like Brazzers or some porn
right.
website. No, this stuff is like, and it's not only, it's very few guys that are living this kind of lifestyle. Like it's very few guys that are ever experienced like a same day lay from like a really hot girl like in the daytime. Like
Oh,
like
fuck.
bringing a girl back to your apartment when it's still bright outside, like the sun is shining. It's a beautiful thing. Like it's an amazing fun experience. Like, and it feels so like it feels so wrong but so right. Like it's
Yeah,
such a good experience. Like it's
yeah,
like, wow, this is, I'm cheating the bucks. Like I'm getting like, it's like cheating in a test, but you're not cheating anything. It's like
yeah.
it's fully like,
It
it's
feels
just
very
normal.
there's a very old school feel to it too, because if you think about like before we had cell phones and dating apps and like, crazy nightclubs, like this is how men would chase women, before you could get their number. Like you'd see a hot girl walking down the street and be like, hey, like what's up, man? You spit your game, and maybe
Mm,
right then and there, like something's gonna happen. And that's
yeah,
that's kind of the feeling you get, you know. It's
I've had,
wow.
and you'll have some of the best sex of your life when the sun is shining outside. Like, it's not in the dark. It's not that you can't have great sex at night too. You obviously can,
Yeah,
but like when you pick a girl up like from the street, and you go for a coffee, or you don't even, it doesn't even need to be the same day, but you can arrange a coffee date a few days later. It's daytime, and you bring them back, you'll have the best sex of your life. Like it's just this raw, passionate, like you're not stinking, you're not drunk, you're not stinking of smoke. It's like very like intense, hot sex, right? And
yeah,
that's, everyone, I've personally had some of the best sex I've ever had in my life from daytime sex. Like, uh and it's something that a lot of people never experience. They never experience that, like that raw passion. Like it's always like subdued, it's always dulled down with alcohol. Or yeah, because the thing is, like, okay, you get into a relationship with a girl, like you might, you say, they hooked up in a nightclub and then they start dating. The initial sex was like dulled with alcohol or drugs, and then over time, yeah, over time they might start having sex. They're gonna start having sex during the daytime or whatever, but they've already gotten used to each other. Like when you like, it's your first time to fuck a girl, and it's like you're stone cold sober. It's in the daytime. It's literally mind blowing sex, right?
absolutely. Just
Yeah, man.
in the amount of experiences that me and you have had are a lot more than most guys. So it's like, I don't know, like when I'm talking about this, I feel like I should bring up an example, but there's just so many examples. Like
You,
it
you
kind
could
of
bring up.
becomes one great big story.
I
Like, you
think
know how guys talk about like this one hot chick all the time, like that they had an amazing night with. Like, when you start to have a number of these experiences, and then you're like, man, like
yeah,
it's just like this continuous kind of thing rather
yeah,
than just like one specific moment, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It just
There's like
keeps going
this
and going and going.
all these experiences of just like literally unbelievable sex, like this like unbelievable this sex that you feel like you should be pay. It feels
And
like it should cost something, but it's free. It's free. Like it's so good that it feels like it should be like there should be a price on it. You know what I
and
mean?
it's not even, it's like, I mean, everyone likes sex and likes to talk about it, and like when you have a good hot chick, like you like to tell your friends, but like one important thing you should know, like you're not just improving your sex life, you're also like improving your social skills and your confidence, and
Mm,
that crosses over to like all aspects of your life, whether you're trying to get a job or like, trying to network with other like dudes even, or like, um, you know, like if you're trying to improve your career as an artist or a DJ or a model, or improve your business, like these social skills where you can just go up and talk to somebody randomly in the street, like, man, it's going to help you in many ways, not just with getting laid, you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, because as guys, if you're not getting laid, like, and it's gonna break you down over time. You're gonna start to feel more and more depressed about it, even subconsciously. You might think, oh, I'm fine, I don't need to get laid, but it'll bring down your confidence. If you haven't gotten laid like in a year, that's really going to affect your like your in many ways, not just your you're not only going to be depressed about not getting laid, but that'll come through, like you said, in your other so aspects of your life, in your work, in your just in your general social life. You won't be as confident, you won't have that pep to your step, you won't have that like that good glow around you. You'll be
Yeah.
it'll be always at you. So, as a man, as a healthy man, you should be having sex right at least once a month, at least. Like, you know what I mean? Um, how did you guys get rid of your old school mentalities that stopped you from day game? Not even blue pill stuff, but just stuff taught from previous generations. You want to answer that first?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So like, hmm. I guess I was always afraid to do day game because I thought the girl would think I'm a creep, or like, it just, you don't really see much of that happening. Like, you don't see day game so often, to be honest. Like, people talk about it, but you don't really see it so often. And like, mostly you just see people like macking on each other in the club or the bar. So like, I always felt like it felt unnatural or uncomfortable, or I would come off as sort of like dangerous or something like that. But it wasn't until I started to meet like my close friends now that were doing it already, and they're like, bro, like, don't think about it. It's not rocket science. Just all you're doing is you're having a normal conversation with a girl. It's just it's in this environment rather than, you know, like a nightclub or something like that. But it's the same simple questions. Like, don't overthink it. Just come in with a positive attitude, and and that's really true. It's not any different than how you would have a conversation with a girl in a bar. It's just like you're kind of out in this great big ocean rather than like a small little space. And it just takes a little getting used to the environment, but yeah.
right. Yeah, that's pretty spot on. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's not one thing. It doesn't happen overnight. It's kind of a collection of different things that you gradually start to lose that mentality that you shouldn't be doing it. And for me, it was a bunch of different things. It was like, coming across some content online about female nature, some mix that in with actual life experiences, mixing it in with certain people I've met, all kind of a collection of things. It takes time. It takes a bit of time, but um, your mindset can change very quickly once you see it working, because you
And
can
I think,
read all the theory in the world and hear about it and think,
right.
but if you don't engage with it and you don't start taking action, yeah, you're not really gonna change. It's like it's all about taking action and actually getting success at it. You need that success. You know, even one success can change your life. Like you can
Yeah.
change your whole sex life. Like getting one lay from a cold
Right.
approach can change your entire mentality. If
Right.
you don't if it takes a long time, or you're not doing it right, or you're not getting the right guidance, you're kind of being a creep, and your body language is off, and you've done like 100 approaches and you haven't had any success. It's gonna be hard to change your mentality. You're gonna feel like it's not working, and it's like it's
Yeah.
not really, this is all it's all, it's not, it doesn't work for me. But it could be just, it could be a few things that you need to fine tune. Your fashion could be shit, your body language could be shit, your attitude could be shit, so you never know, you could be fucking up.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
you do
think,
need those success stories, right?
mm, especially at the start, like if you're kind of new or you don't have much experience, like fuck all the theory and like all the books and strategies. And sometimes you just have to be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. It
Mm,
doesn't matter like if it's weird or you were nervous. Just the fact that you did it, that you went up to the girl and you even just said hi, like, how's it going? And even if she just like turned around and ignored you, at least you tried. You know what I mean?
right. I
Like
always feel better.
that's like the biggest, that's the hardest part is the first the first words you say to the girl.
Right.
Like, you see her standing across the street or walking down and you're like, oh, there she is. Like, should I go do it? You feel that nervousness, you feel that kind of, chilling, like fear or whatever. If you can overcome that, that is honestly the hardest part.
Yeah. Because sometimes you'll see a girl like head to toe, she ticks every fucking box. Like her fashion's on point, her ass, everything about her is literally like you're 10 out of 10. Like she just sexually, like you don't really care about her personality yet. Just
Yeah.
physically, you see her, she ticks every box. She's like, fuck. And when you see a girl like that, and even if you approach her and she rejects you, she goes to you, you feel better because it's like that you tried at least. It's
Right.
like, because the thing about when you like guys like us, we know that get day game works. We know that it works. So we'll feel bad if we don't approach. Like
Right.
guys like us will feel bad if we don't approach. Guys
Right.
that don't do day game will feel like, oh, they think doing the approach is the big hurdle. I
Right.
actually feel bad if I don't approach. Like, because it's like I know that it works. I'll be like, oh shit, like if I don't
And
approach
you
this
never
girl, I
know.
could be missing out
You never
on like,
fucking know. Even if she's
mm,
gorgeous, like she might stop and give you her attention. You
right.
never know. There's
Mm,
all different types of personalities and people from different situations. Maybe she isn't married and in a shitty relationship and she really wanted to talk to a foreign guy or any guy. And maybe not. You don't know. You don't know until words come out of your mouth and you see their reaction.
mm. Yeah. But yeah, you've seen me out and about. Like you'll even see my facial expression. You've seen me getting rejected a bunch of times, right? And like, well, I turn around and I go like this, like I did it, like like it's like I tried it,
Nice.
like I mean, I feel better. Like I genuinely
Yeah.
feel like I
Oh
don't
yeah.
feel bad. Like I feel like I did it. I'd see,
A
she
little
said
bit of
no.
a rush. At
Yeah,
least you're trying.
you know.
Right.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Yeah,
Mm.
man. I feel like we could talk for hours, but
No,
I gotta roll out. But
yeah.
what's your where you at? Like you got we've already shown your Instagram. It's Riley. I'll put it in the chat.
Yep.
Um, Riley Suave does you know DJing stuff like that. What else are you doing these days?
I'm trying to get a real job now so I can get a visa and keep staying in Japan. I'm still on this really shitty temporary visa, so uh, I need to get like a serious job, probably with a company. And yeah, like tonight I'm DJing at a club, and you know, I do model gigs every now and then, but you know, basically I just kind of scrape by with that. I'm not making much, but it's definitely fun. Like in the last year, I've been able to survive by DJing and modeling. Barely survived, but I was able to do it. So
Mm.
kind of I'm proud of that. But like fuck, I've done all sorts of things in Japan. I've been a student and I've done manual labor jobs and kind of been all
Okay.
over the place. So
So you have, there's a phrase in, in this kind of sphere where it's like, money muscles game. So you have like, you have your game like down pat. Your game is like solid right now. Your game is really solid. Your muscles, as in like fitness, fashion, you could, and your money is your weakest point right now, but you're getting
yeah,
on that. But so like there's yeah, you're getting like, so money is like literally the least important aspect of getting laid. Like
sure,
I've all like it helps, like it can help you. It's like a bonus thing that's nice to have for sure, but you don't need to be rich to get laid. Like
sure.
you like
I mean,
absolutely do
Mac knows my building I live in looks like a abandoned crack house. Like
not.
it's like a broken down wooden
Yeah,
shack looking thing. And the inside, I mean, it's nice inside, but from the outside,
yeah,
sometimes when the girls walking up to my house, they're like,
yeah. It's
"What?"
scary, right?
It's
I
scary.
mean, just brought two girls back to your place on Saturday night, on Saturday like evening, and
Yeah,
uh, and it was a daytime pickup, but they were scared. Like we had to, because it's
scary.
scary. Like it's a dark,
It's scary.
literally a dark little alleyway that you have to, like, kind of little hallway that you have to go down.
Yeah,
So we're like, no, no, it's fine. But like they
it
came
looks
in, and
scary.
once they're in, they're fine. But it was like, yeah, I mean, it goes to show how location is seriously important. You live, like, you don't even need a nice apartment. Like it's like the location is more important than the apartment.
Sure,
Like
sure,
you can
absolutely.
have like a penthouse, like the best like house ever. If it's in a shitty location, like if it's way out in the countryside,
Yeah,
you're rare. You'll get laid sometimes if your game is good, but it's going to be what you're going to get laid way less. If you live in a
right.
really easy to access location that's
My
close to,
location couldn't be better in
yeah,
Tokyo. Couldn't be
Riley
better.
spot is like, it's the best location ever, and it doesn't even need to be like a penthouse amazing spot. Like as once they come back, and your game is solid and you're a cool guy,
Yeah.
you're gonna get laid as much as you want.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, man, it was a good chat. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, tune in for next episode on Wednesday, I think 7 p.m. 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until then, guys, peace out. Have a good one. Bye bye.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.